Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to come here and speak. 25 years I've had Parkinson's. That should be inspiration enough. I'm going to leave now. Just kidding. You know, it's interesting when I think of differently abled. I've said that. I've used that phrase before I learned it from you guys. Differently abled is interesting because just like, I'll give you an example. Tiger Woods was thought of as the first African American Thai golfer, professional golfer. But when we get to the point where he just is a professional golfer, you know we've gotten into the norm. And differently abled is a wonderful expression, but wouldn't it be nice if we were just able individuals? Differently abled, but able individuals. I just made that up. I just thought
it's good.
My sense of humor is a little bit dry, but one of the things that, if you've ever seen the movie Overboard with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, there's a point where she falls off a boat and she gets amnesia and she thinks that she's poor, but she's really very rich. And she gets her memory back and she gets up on the boat and she says to Roddy McDowall. Roddy McDowall is a famous actor. He was the butler, and why he took this role as a butler made sense to me at that point, because she asked him, how bad was I? And he said, Madam Arthur, I've dropped my golden earrings somewhere between 24th and 25th Street. Go find them. And she was so ashamed of herself that she said, what am I going to do? And he said, Madam, this is the key line. We all are born with blinders on. You've had yours removed for a short period of time. What you do with that information is entirely up to you. What I'm going to do is try to take the blinders off. Take the blinders off of what it's like to have Parkinson's, and maybe learn a few things that I would not have learned otherwise. In other words, make a positive aspect of having Parkinson's. Find the positives. What is it? Finding out. I went into a doctor's office. My hand was shaking, and I went to see a doctor, and the neurologist came out, and the receptionist had left for the day. And she shook my hand and said, you have Parkinson's disease. 4 words that upset my life. I said, that can't be. I demand a confirmatory test. She said, you have all the classic symptoms. Your eyes don't blink, your face is a mask, your hand tremors, your arm doesn't swing when you walk, which is interesting, most people don't know that. And my handwriting's illegible. Now, I'm an attorney, so my handwriting, of course, is illegible. That was a joke. Gotta lighten up here. I said, no disrespect to the disease of Parkinson's. I see these wonderful women put on this nice dance. There's no disrespect that I do include humor in what I'm trying to say, because humor is therapeutic as well as anything else. But so I said to her, I want a confirmatory test. She said, you'll have to take the drug called carbidopa-levodopa. I'm gonna go home with some information today and see if it works. And it worked. I said, is there another confirmatory test that's better? She said, that's an autopsy. I didn't go for the autopsy. Okay.
They're lighting up. Keep going. Good.
Finding out. So I went home, told my family, and I took it from there. What is it? I call it accelerated aging. Because even though I'm 64, I feel like I'm 84. I have the same. I live in an an independent living facility in Williamsburg, Virginia, with mostly 80-year-olds, and I tell you, I crack them up. It's fun. But the things that they complain about are the same things that I complain about. Walking, from the moment I wake up, I have to inch. I feel like an alien's taken over my body. I have to inch the covers off of me, slowly, one at a time, and then I have to get up. I have to use a bar to lift up, and I lift up, and I sit there for a while to stretch out, and I can go, and I can eventually go to the restroom and get dressed and start my day and that sort of thing. But it affects walking, talking. I call it hypervigilance. I have to constantly keep in mind where I am. If I go into a corner, I might get stuck. My body frees up. If I go into a closet, my body is freezing up. The worst part of Parkinson's is when eventually you get to the later stages and you have swallowing difficulty. I should get a doctorate in Parkinson's. I've gotten so much information. I've gone to over 100 conferences, been to Malaysia, been to Paris, been to Hong Kong, been to all over the United States and Canada. I was a little bit more animated then because I'd had 15 years instead of 25 years. But I still think it's good. Stress is my biggest difficulty, and good choice becoming a speaker. And stress is your number one category. But what can be done? I call them stages. First stage of Parkinson's is, first of all, let me ask you a question. I think Parkinson's is a very popular disease. How many of you know someone that has Parkinson's? It's a very popular disease. Whenever I go up to someone and they find out what I do, they say, oh, I know this person, my uncle had Parkinson's. And it's a very popular disease, which is a shame. It's unfortunate that it is, because we got to find a cure, like Michael J. Fox was talking about. Stages, the honeymoon stage. Call it the honeymoon stage because it's when the medicine works. First 7 years, they've gotten it down to a number of years. The first 7 years, it works, and you can do the normal things. I continued to practice law, which I love to do. Went to Cornell Law School, and I loved being a lawyer. I got to be a college professor, which was awesome. I wrote my book, which is right over there. My brother Ted lives in Huntington, so he's filming it and carrying my book. Wrote a book, which was a labor of love. It takes the first 2.5 years. If anybody here written a book before, raise your hand if you've written a book. First 2.5 years, you think you're done with the book. You got all the content. Then you got to do the graphics and everything else. It's another 2.5 years before it gets published. So it's an interesting aspect of it. But it was something new, something I would not have done had I not gotten Parkinson's. So the 10,000 people that have benefited from my book, I feel good about. Stages, honeymoon stage, then the action stage. I met my wife after I'd had Parkinson's for 10 years, and she put me on a vegetarian diet, and we exercised every day doing Bikram hot yoga or boxing. Boxing was been found to be a great way to deal with Parkinson's. And then the advancing stage, and then the advanced stage. I'm more in the advanced stage than ever before. What I say to my people with Parkinson's is, you are not Parkinson's. You are not Parkinson's. You have Parkinson's. Parkinson's does not have you. If you met one person with Parkinson's, you've met one, because we're all different. But in fact, I did a talk for some women in southern Indiana, and the first woman, I asked her, tell me about yourself. She said, well, I've had Parkinson's for 12 years, and went on to tell me her symptoms. Second one, I said, tell me about yourself. She talked about the 8 years she's had Parkinson's and what she's done about it. Went to the third one, she said, I've had Parkinson's. I said, hold it, time out, stop. You are not Parkinson's. Tell me about you. And the first woman said, well, I grow prize-winning roses for the state fair. And her face lit up, and it was really awesome, the transformation. The second woman said, well, I build buildings, and there's a building in Indianapolis skyline that I did. And her face lit up, and it was like the clouds parted and the sun shone through, because they had seen a different perspective on them not being Parkinson's, but Parkinson's being just a part of them. Who's a caregiver here? Raise your hand if you're a caregiver. Come on, caregivers, raise your hand. All right. If the person that you care for is here, I want the person that you care for to look at you right now and say thank you for being my caregiver, because it's a thankless job. And my brother, I'll say it to you. Thank you for being my caregiver. The thing about caregivers is care. C-A-R-E, care. You have to have courage, attitude, resilience, and enthusiasm. Those are the key things. Let me tell you a story. And that no animal was hurt in this story. So don't My wife called me at 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon and said, "There's a mouse in the house, come home now." So I dutifully drove home, and I went to the first hardware store and I got a sticky trap. I went home and said, where's the mouse? She said, "It was right over there." I said, "Put down a sticky trap." Nothing happened the whole night. The mouse didn't come out. Went to bed, the mouse didn't come out. Got up for work, the mouse didn't come out. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, she calls me and says, "It's caught in the trap and it's making noise, come home now." So I came home and I was wearing a suit, and I took the trap and I was gonna throw it out. She said, "You can't just throw it out, you have to do something." Now, I've never had any lessons in law school on mouse euthanasia, but it was an interesting concept for me. So I went to the side of the house and I was on a corner, and I tapped the mouse with a shovel. Like I said, no one else was hurt in this. Tapped it with a shovel, and the breeze was making the fur move, so I thought it was still alive. I looked across. You know how you know when someone's looking at you? I looked across behind me, and there was an old woman on a bench, a Cajun woman on a porch swing, and she was swinging back and forth, and she was forming some words. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and she said, "It ain't dead yet. It ain't gonna die." And that's where I got the subtitle of my book, "You Ain't Dead Yet," because you ain't dead yet. Everyone that's differently able, you ain't dead yet. You can still do something that people value and that works good for you. Balance is a big issue. I have fallen so many times I can't count them. I once fell on the floor, face down, and I couldn't get up. And I finally used all my energy possible to flip over. I was there for an hour, 3 hours, 5 hours, 9 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours, 17 hours, 20 hours, 24 hours, 21 hours before they found me. Got pneumonia, I couldn't walk. I had to learn how to walk again. It took me 3 weeks to learn how to walk. These are the things that happen with Parkinson's. It's almost a life-threatening issue. So you have to have someone around you at all times. That's why I live in independent living now, because I have a beeper that if I get caught in a bad situation, I can push the beeper and they'll come and get me. Sounds pretty rough, huh? Rougher time. Turn on this page. Here you go. Then, next thing you knew, 6 months later, I was wanting to take a bath. It's a simple thing. Everyone likes to take a bath once in a while. Got in the bathtub and I couldn't get out. And I got the water out, and I was lying there in the bathtub. I could not get out. And when I finally got to rescue, they said, "What time do you think it is?" I said, "I went in the bathtub at 9, it's 11:30. They said, 6:30 at night. I was in this bathtub for 9 hours. That's pretty harrowing. I want to call it, you heard me call it accelerated living, accelerated aging. I want to call this next part accelerated life. Live in the present, one day, every victory counts. Every victory counts is someone that gave me that. When I get into a car and I can put my seatbelt on, I raise my arms and say, victory. Everything that I do, when I get up in the morning and get out of bed, it's a victory. When I get dressed, it's a victory. When I get one foot in, it's a victory. When I can talk to you people, it's a victory. When I can take a 9-hour flight here from Williamsburg to see you guys, it's a victory. My brother takes me into this place, it's a victory. I go on and on as to what victories are. There's a balance. Besides balance being the other version of the word balance, besides the balance being you have to stay balanced so you don't fall, there's balance when it comes to your life. You have to keep living your life, whatever you're differently able to keep living your life, because and you might even accelerate it. I went to see the Stones in Vienna, Austria. I went to see the Bruce Springsteen in Rome. I traveled the world and went to the Derby. And the life balance, it's becoming more and more stressful for me to do stuff. This is probably my last speaking engagement. It's probably my last one because it takes too much out of me to travel around. But I can live with the memories, and I can live with the things I do at this independent living place because I have a lot of fun there. For those that are differently abled, my 10-year through 20-year was when I said I was a vegetarian and I was doing Bikram hot yoga, 90-minute hot yoga, stuff like that. That stabilized my Parkinson's, and I didn't get any worse because of nutrition and exercise. So take that into consideration if you want to. If you're still young, not 64 like me, but if you're still young and you have something that's adversity, that you get up and do those things. Lift up that page.
You need a chair again.
Okay. Give a hand to my brother. I said humor is something that's important. There's a guy named Jim Valvano that died. He was an ESPY award winner. He was a college coach, and he says, if you think, laugh, and cry, whether tears of joy or tears of laughter, tears of joy or tears of sadness, you've had a heck of a day. You do that every day for a week, you've had a heck of a week. For a month, you've had a heck of a month. Muhammad Ali, I got to meet Muhammad Ali and I got to meet his daughter. And Muhammad Ali, what he says is, he was bent over, worse than I've ever seen anyone bent over in the middle of the room. These kids came in the room and he rose up like he was the old Muhammad Ali. And he rose up and he did a magic trick for them. And then when they left, he went right back down into a crouch. That's how impressive that man is. I would have never met Muhammad Ali if I didn't get Parkinson's, and that's important to me. There's a guy by the name of Leo Biscaglia, and he says, don't underestimate the power of a touch, a kind word, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, either of which have a power to turn a life around. Be that touch, be that word, be that compliment, be that act of caring. Turn a life around. I'll give you another perspective. When I get into a plane and I can't get out of my seat and the person next to me and someone on the aisle helps me up, guess what? I've given them a gift. Think about this. It's a little bit strange, but I've given them a gift. They got to help someone out. And how often do we get to help someone out and show how kind we are? Think about that. I've given them a gift. I'm not afraid, I'm not ashamed of asking for help because it's not my fault that I have Parkinson's. It's not my fault. It's not your fault you're differently abled. So take the help from anyone that gives it, offers it. See, I get. And then now I'm spending time in this assisted living place. And I am determined to be the last best friend of many of these people. Last best friend. Think about that. You people who are in hospice or caregivers, you're the last best friend of these people. Positive attitude. Positive attitude. It's critical. My brother and I lived in Hicksville and then Huntington. In Hicksville, I made a fort out of some extra fencing. And there was only could fit one person, so I went in there, or two people. I went in there with my best friend. And my brother was left on the outside. So dutifully and rightfully, he hit me on the head with a rock. My mother came out, she was freaking out, there was blood everywhere. I went to the emergency room, got 6 stitches. He tells the story of 2, but it was 6. And I got home and my brother went to bed, then my older sister went to bed. And then
You're good.
Then then they brought out ice cream because they thought I might have a concussion. So I said, this is the luckiest day of my life. I get hit in the head with a rock, went to an emergency room, but it's the luckiest day of my life because of the ice cream and getting to stay laid up.
I was only 2 years old when I hit him in the head with a rock. I was, just so you know.
It's funny. So still make a difference, whatever way you can. And when you make a difference in other people's lives, you find a purpose for yourself. And that's the key of everything. I thought my purpose was to be an attorney. It wasn't. I thought my purpose was to be a college professor. It wasn't. I thought my purpose was to be an author. It wasn't. I thought my purpose was to be an inspirational speaker. It wasn't. My purpose is to help people feel better about themselves and be kind. That's all I got.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bowman. So, I'm going to ask a little bit of help from you. We need your help to announce our first raffle. I would like to call Miss Flora and Paresh Parikh to come up